Hello there, everybody. This is James L. Hill, author of The Moth. This book has just been released today. Let's put it on this side, give you a better look at it. Uh, as you can see in the background, it's the cover of The Moth. And this is my new book. I just released it today. And it is different than the other 7 books I released in that this is a collection of short stories, shorter stories. Let's put it that way. Some of my stories are not very short, but they're all pretty good, I would suppose. Now, in the past, when I've been doing book signings and out places, doing interviews, people always ask me, when did I start writing? And my pat answer was always, oh, I've been writing all my life. But that is not necessarily true. In fact, that's pretty much not true. No one really been writing all their life. Uh, Probably didn't learn my letters and how to write anything until I was probably somewhere between 3 and 5 years old. Definitely by kindergarten, you start learning letters and how to write and things like that. But you're not writing sentences or anything. You're writing words, uh, learning your alphabet, you know, words like cat, dog, mom, dad, things like that. So when I really did start to write was probably around 8 or 9, which is a more accurate statement because at that time we used to be into comics pretty good. And being into comics, mostly the Marvel comics, means that we will read the comics, and at that time it was like 10 cents a comic, which was great. Uh, Also dated myself, I'm sure. But at 10 cents a comic, we would buy the monthly releases, and then we would read them. And of course, the Marvel comics were great because they were serialized. At that time, I didn't know what a serial was other than what you ate for breakfast, but I realize serialized means that the story keeps going. And so we would try to trace out the characters and everything, and I would try to write the next story in the line. Marvel comics were great because sometimes you would have a villain introduced, and sometimes you would have the next hero introduced in somebody else's comic. Like in the Fantastic Four, they will release somebody else, and that would become the new hero and spin off his own comic, things like that. Spider Man will spin off somebody else's comic, that kind of thing. So I used to sit there and figure out or try to figure out what was the next story should be in this line of comics. And so that's really where I got my start and my love for writing. And since then, I've been writing quite a bit. Now, uh, I was really more of a long form writer than a short story writer. And I would started by trying to write books. And I quickly realized how difficult it was to get published. And so I then figured I could write more short stories than I can novels in the same amount of time. So I figured it'd be quicker to get noticed and get published and become a short story writer. And then I can switch over once I became famous to novels. Well, I also learned very quickly that it was not any easier being published as a short story writer. And because I don't really write very short stories, I wasn't really cut out for the magazine world. Magazine writers usually want something 2,500 words or so, or less, in the short story uh, magazine world. So my stories probably started off at 2,500 words and ran to 5, 10,000 words, something like that. So it wasn't really a good fit for the magazine world at the time and wasn't very good for getting recognition. So, long story short, I went back to writing novels. And now I have published 7 novels. The Killer series, some of you may know, is adult crime stories. And I started off writing science fiction. And now, of course, I don't do as much science fiction writing as I used to, but I did a lot of short story science fiction. I do crime stories. I do somewhat horror or paranormal stories. And that's all in here because The Moth and Other Tantalizing Tales is a collection of stories that go back about 30 years or so. Um, one day this year, a couple of months ago, I was cleaning out my file cabinet. I don't throw away very many things, especially writing stuff. So I can't find some of my notebooks, but I did keep a lot of the stuff I typed up. It takes me a long time to type stuff, so if I type it, I'm keeping it. And I decided that I would put together a collection of short stories. A few people asked me for short stories over the couple of years or so. And so I got back into writing a couple of short stories. So going back maybe 20, 30 years, I pulled out some of my older short stories, some of my newer short stories, and decided it was time to put out a compilation of my work. And I figured I'd bring it out. I had enough time that I could bring it out for Christmas and it would make a great Christmas present. So this video is coming to you in case you're out here Black Friday shopping and everything, and you have somebody on your list that you just can't figure out what to get them. Or if you're a fan of mine and have read some of my other stuff and you would like to read more or see what else I have out there before the next novel comes out, which probably won't be until next year sometime, uh, the Moth and Other Tantalizing Tales would be a great gift or a great gift to yourself. And like all Christmas gifts, of course, there has to be a little Santa in there. So in the book, I have a short story called Twisted Christmas. And it, of course, revolves around Santa and Christmas. Now, here goes something that might blow your mind. But if you shift the N in Santa to the end of his name, he becomes Satan. Now, I'm not going to say that happens in Twisted Christmas. You'll have to read it to find out where the twist comes in at. But being the holiday season, I had to throw something in there for the Christmas story. And that was one of the ones that was requested of me to write. So when they asked me to write a story about Christmas, the Twisted Mind of James Hill came up with Twisted Christmas. So it's out there now. Today is its release day, so I'm out. So it's out there now. You can buy it at any place you usually get your um, books from. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, God knows how many other places. You can also get it from direct from the horse's mouth at rockhillpublishing.com, and you'll find it there. And thank you for listening. Have a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas. Uh, I woke up from my turkey coma and I figured I'd put out a video to let everybody know that The Moth and Other Tantalizing Tales is now available for you to download or purchase. We got hardcover, paperback, and ebooks. Thanks for listening. I hope to meet you at the next signing.